Hello. For those of you new to my channel, my name is Raven Shri from Wild Soul Wanderings. And I've recently been creating videos and sharing with you pages from my Hero's Journey art journal. And what a project this has been. And before I share with you page 3, which is around the Trilogy of Maiden, Mother, Crone, and that evolution and how it's present in my life, I wanted to share a little bit about my personal dream structure and how that has evolved. Ever since I was little, I've always wanted to write a book, whether it was a mystery book or a personal development book. I've always had this deep-seated dream, vision, desire to write a book. And as I've moved deeper into my second adulthood, I got clarity on what my book would be. Something that is unique to my life adventure, which is structurally the foundation for how I adventure through life. And the title of that book is The Hero's Journey Through the Chakra Medicine Wheel. And it weaves together a lot of different systems that have been fundamental maps in my healing and holing adventure through life. And those maps are the hero's journey, the chakras, feng shui, the medicine wheel, Wiccan practices, ecotherapy, tarot, art therapy, etc. I always thought this book would look like the typical book, the one that you write and you sell it on Amazon and in bookstores and people hold it in their hands and they read it, and it's a part of my legacy that would live on once my body dies, which, as I get older, is sooner rather than later. And so when the pandemic happened, I lost a lot of joy, I lost a lot of hope, and I realized that a lot of my dreams needed to shapeshift. Some of the dreams no longer seemed reachable. Some of the dreams no longer seemed attainable or appropriate for this day and age of social economic collapse, with also some grassroots uprising to help fashion us into the new era, which may not be structurally in place by the time I die. So I feel like I'm living the rest of my life in this limbo between the collapse of an empire and the restructuring of whatever's going to take its place, which may take several decades to come through a more obvious fruition. So with this backstory, one of the things that I held space for was to let my dreams and visions and hopes and aspirations die during the pandemic and find a way to be present with whatever the day was presenting, and simply to find a way to be present with that, with my deep vows and intentions for my soul presencing in the moment. And I really couldn't quite see past the immediate day that I was in. And so a lot of the dreams and aspirations that I've held for most of my life, I really tried to make them die and bury them. And I did a lot of ceremonies around that. One of the things that also terminated in my life was teaching workshops. I've taught workshops for 25 plus years, most of them in person. However, with the pandemic, I took my programs online, and that was such a valuable connection point for me to connect with humans during that time of extreme isolation. And now that things have opened up, I recognize that a lot of people are zoomed out and are not interested in online events. So I've determined that it's time for me to stop teaching events. It was challenging to get the workshops full, and there's so many competitive forces on people's time and interests. So I decided to take myself out of that competitive race and just sink a little bit deeper into my own solitude life, into living the last days of my life in as sweet of a presence with myself as I could. And I found myself in a little bit of a void. I wasn't teaching workshops. I wasn't aspiring towards these lifelong goals and dreams. I was simply working my 9-to-5 job and not really knowing what to do with my nights and my weekends. And it was a little bit of the world between worlds. It was a little bit of a Narnia space. But I sat in it. I sat in the uncomfortable void of non-doing. I sat in the space of non-attachment. I sat in this void of not really having an objective to aspire to. And somehow through that process, this art journal started to come alive. And it's interesting because this book would have never been birthed if I was attached to the old form, to the standard model of writing a book on Amazon that is sold through that standard distribution channel. This book and its creative layers would never have come alive if I hadn't released that attachment to that specific form and that specific outcome. And so I am allowing myself, encouraging myself to get out of my way and let spirit guide me through this process. And so with that share, I'd like to share page 3 of my art journal with you. This is page 3 of my art journal, where I explore my life through the maiden, mother, crone, and the evolutionary concept of that. And I wrote a little letter to myself as I explored leaving a layer of youth behind and moving into a new age of experience. And I have this poem here by John Donahue that I would love to share with you, which really is inspiring me as I am writing my book, The Hero's Journey Through the Chakra Medicine Wheel, in this form, in this shape, in these times, in this way. And the poem reads, "For a new beginning. In out-of-the-way places of the heart where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you are ready to emerge. For a long time, it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness grow inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then the delight, when your courage kindled, and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning. This is one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you. As the fool starts this journey, may I trust and have faith that I have the skills, tools, and resources to deal with whatever comes my way. And so this is page 3 in my Hero's Journey art journal. My new book is coming alive. Thanks for listening.